Dr. Mathebula, good afternoon. How are you doing this afternoon?
Hey man, I'm well and good, and I listened to your discussions and all the quotations from Steve Compeller and the artist there talking about success. I think it's time that maybe next week we need to address the question of relationship and depression. Given the fact that so many people have actually committed suicide, particularly in the entertainment industry. Yeah, because we are so obsessed about success, and if we don't attain that success, we have a problem. We end up committing suicide. And I think next week, we're going to talk about depression, stress, and how can you how can you manage that in a relationship.
Our topic today is entitled How Parental Weaknesses Can Weaken Your Relationship. What do we mean by that?
Yeah, well, it's a very good question, and I'm glad you brought it up. Um, I think as you grow up, or maybe as you mature, you know the difference between wrong and right, and then at times you pick up your parental weaknesses, and when you pick up those weaknesses from your parents, they they may either weaken your future relationship, or they may actually bolster those relationships. It depends on how you come across those weaknesses. And today we want to talk about your parental weaknesses and how they may actually impact on your future relationship.
Right, Dr. Mathebula, there's a very important point that you just mentioned now. And there's also another important point that you actually wrote. And I'm going to quote you. You said, when you are a child, you regard your parents as great and perfect because they provide you with the basic human needs, such as affection, food, clothes, and a place to shelter under. Dr. Mathebula. Now, so, what do you think of influences of people who provide for you, and how much of a role will that play in our life, Dr. Mathebula?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much for the question. When you grow up, you are dependent on your parents, as you said, for affection, for food, clothes, as well as a place to shelter under. And then you regard your parents as great, and as perfect. That's what we see. But as you grow up and you mature and you start actually seeing the weaknesses of your parents. It could be gender-based violence, where your father fight your mother, or there is a question of alcohol in a marriage, or infidelity. Now you start actually, now as a person, now you start understanding those weaknesses. That my father can beat up my mother, or my father can come back from wherever he comes from, being drunk, and beats up all of us. Or my father has got a girlfriend next door. Now you start realizing all these imperfections as an adult, as you grow up. And then those things may actually impact on your future relationship when you have to relate to other people. And yeah.
So they actually have an impact in your life. Those weaknesses that you suddenly see from your parents, obviously, Dr. Mathebula. Now, what are some of the behavioral indicators, of a person who lives with parental baggage?
Yeah, for example, such a person may have actually a resentment against your parents because of their weaknesses. You may be alienated from your parents. Once you have got your own home, you might actually hate your mother, or you might actually hate your father, and not have an actual relationship. In other words, you resent them. That's one of the um, indicators. Also, you might actually have fear to commit to a long-term relationship. Whenever you are in a relationship, something comes back and it says, what about if this guy does, what my father used to do? Now you have got the spirit of fear in the relationship. And also, you might also have, uncontrolled rage. when you discover that your partner is involved in an extramarital relationship, you become, overboard. You become so angry to an extent that you can also destroy, the entire car. You could do things that are overboard because something that actually once happened to you when you are young now is now happening in your relationship. Or also, you may not actually trust the opposite sex. You might actually maybe a woman might actually decide that because of what my mother went through, I'm not going to get married. you know or also, when you have got a relationship, your relationships don't last, because once you are in a relationship, something will actually happen that reminds you of what actually happened to your parents when you are still young, and then you end up breaking up in a relationship, and now you have got a problem that, can I problem now. I could do lily monna, maybe one lawyer, or maybe no, about lawyer. It's because of the baggage that you had from your parental relationship.
Which actually created weaknesses. But then perhaps the question will be, how do we deal with the parental weaknesses, Dr. Mathebula?
Yeah, how do we deal with parental weaknesses? Firstly, you need to acknowledge that your parents are human beings, are individuals with their own mistakes. That's something you need to acknowledge, that your parents are human beings, and they've got their own shortcomings, and you are not their clone. Once you actually understand that, it's a point of departure. Like Stan, when you are working in an organization, when they invite you for an interview, and then you sit and the panel interviews you, you see these general managers and the like. You see an aura of perfection. These people are perfect, they're executives and the like. But as you start working for the organizations, you realize how weak those people are. But and the only way to survive is to understand that even my manager is a human being, and being a human being, this person has got mistakes. I think that's the first point that you need to take into account.
And then the second point, Dr. Mathebula?
And then secondly, secondly, do not internalize your parental mistakes into your mental system. Like, for example, if your parents once committed a mistake, don't internalize it. And you internalize it, and it becomes part of your system. Whoever you see, you associate, that person with the mistakes that your parents once actually committed. No, you don't have to do that. You don't have to internalize their mistakes. And then thirdly, let go of your parents' mistakes and do not take them into your new relationship. Do not actually, export them into your new relationship. If your parents had a mistake, it could be alcohol, it could be other weaknesses, immorality, whatever. Don't take those things into the next relationship. And then forgive your parents for their mistakes, because they are human.
I want us to go back to.
Yeah, I can hear you as well.
Okay. I want us to go back to number 4, where you were talking about forgive your parents, we lost you a little bit.
Yeah, it's okay. I was actually saying forgive your parents for their mistakes.
It's loud and clear now. Okay, now we can hear you very, very clearly, Dr. Mathebula. So you said forgive your parents for their mistakes, right? So that you can be able to move forward with your own life.
With your own life. Yeah. Because if you don't forgive them, you can't move forward. Also, your mistakes. When you commit your mistake, you attribute all those mistakes to your parents. I've broke up with that woman because my parents once did A and B. You are holding them to ransom. Now you need to forgive them and move on.
Okay, and then lastly,
delete all their mistakes from the recycling bin. Because at times we go back to the recycling bin and go and click, and then all your parental mistakes will actually come out. Say now, in other words, you need to delete them from that bin and say, you know what, I've forgiven them, and then I move forward. I'm not going to repeat whatever they did. I'm not going to discuss with anyone, my parental mistakes. I'm going to move on with my own life, and I'm going to face my own demons.
Exactly. So, which means then your life becomes your own life, Dr. Mathebula.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
not.
It's your own life.
And it's not dependent on the history. What is it that your parent went through, and what is it that you went through with your parents? So all the things that you actually witness have to have a way in which they can be able to build you up. Take that which is good and use them, and those that you feel cannot help you with anything, then you can put them into the recycle bin, Dr. Mathebula.
Absolutely. For example, last week I went to bury my cousin somewhere in Moloto. My cousin, and his parents divorced. And then when his father died, he didn't attend the funeral. And then we laid him to rest last week, Wednesday. One of his daughters didn't attend his funeral because of his mistakes. Now it becomes a vicious cycle. Yeah, because he thought his father was wrong, and then he was in that position because of his father, and he repeated the same mistakes. And one of the daughters said, when my mother died, my father was not there. We looked for him, we couldn't actually find him. We didn't even know where he was. And one of my sisters decided not even to attend his funeral. Now it was now a vicious cycle. Because he never forgave his father, and then his daughter never forgave him. Now it doesn't pay at the end of the day.
Okay, Dr. Mathebula Mathebula, we have a question here. It says, Dr. Mathebula Mathebula, thank you for this topic. I actually have a problem where I am still stuck with everything else that I saw my parents doing. Some of the mistakes that they made still is with me to this day. I think it's a comment.
Yeah, it's a comment. I mean, from those mistakes, you need to learn and build your personality from there. And then you must not be stuck. Those are where there are mistakes. You still have to commit your own mistakes as well.
And then
so don't take the baggage of your parents into the new relationship.
There's another question here. It says, for me, my parents actually helped me quite a lot with that, with those lessons. They said, okay, I am trying to read it right, Dr. Mathebula, so that it makes sense. Okay, it says, my parents said to me that growing up the way you are growing up now, it means that if there is any defect that you see in your life, you can blame me. But after you leave this house and you are an adult, any mistake that you see in yourself is yours.
Absolutely. You need to bear your own cross. You need to bear your own cross. You can't actually blame your parents, because you must also understand that we are all in this world to experience something, and we're going to commit mistakes. And then when our parents commit mistakes, we need to learn from those mistakes. We must not blame them for those mistakes. We need to move on and commit our own mistakes.
And then I think the last one here says, yeah, ndo hula ndichibona zvine mubebi vaita ndazvitakalela ngori vova va successful and ndichibona zvine ndakozviita ndikozvibona nane ndikhandela yauva successful.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm saying there are things, what your parents do. There are some mistakes that they commit. Also, there are the strong points. You can zero in on the strong point and you'll be a better person. I agree with him.
Oh, okay. Now, you see, today, Dr. Mathebula, there was no question. It was just comments.
Yeah, that's good, because it's not always the case. For example, when I present a paper in a conference, I say something at the end of the paper. I say any comment, any compliment, or any question, because there might not be a question, there might be a compliment or a comment. And today, that's what we see. We see comments and compliments.
Okay. Now, thank you so very much for sending those comments. We really appreciate. The number is 0624508619 right here at VMC Planet Radio. The show is called Second to None, and we are with Dr. Mathebula Mathebula. Dr. Mathebula Mathebula, today we don't have quotable codes, but we have vocabulary cabinets. What do we have in the vocabulary cabinet?
Well, Vision must read everything, because we are teaching him how to read publicly.
Exactly, and unfortunately, he just I don't know what happened to him now. He just stepped
Vision.
out. He just stepped out now. I don't know what is wrong with Vision. Can you just call Vision there, because he decided he's gonna just step out now, and he's supposed to be learning quite a lot of lessons here, Dr. Mathebula Mathebula.
And I'm saying to Vision, Vision, don't drink and drive.
Yeah. Vision, Dr. Mathebula Mathebula says, don't drink and drive, right? So, and he says, this is what he's always going to advise you. So he says, don't drink and drive. And he says, you need to, he's teaching you to read in public. Dr. Mathebula Mathebula, no, he said, he said he wanted to just clear his throat. He wanted to drink water outside because he's not allowed to drink anything in the studio.
Oh, okay.
But he still said, you still say he must not drink and drive, right?
Yeah, I must not drink and drive.
Okay, Doctor, Vision, he said you must read.
With the vocabulary cabinet.
Yes.
Is it caustic?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I'm right, caustic. What? No, I'm dope on this.
You see, he's doing the same thing, right? Now he's acting smart. He read as if he's asking a question, Dr. Mathebula.
No, I did. Is it caustic? Because remember last time I said the word wrong.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right?
it's an adjective which means a bitter, unpleasant remark. The example is he had many children to an extent.
Many children,
He
not
had-
many.
oh,
I
he
think
had-
I think it's a mistake. Yeah, he had many children. Yeah.
I literally read it that way because I thought
Yeah.
the actual lesson would be that there's something caustic about money.
Oh yeah, it's about not money. It's many.
Oh, he had many children.
It was an error of omission. It was an error of commission. I mean.
I would have said typo. Dr. Mathebula is on it. So he had many children to an extent that his friends caustically remarked that his function in life was for breeding purposes only. What? So his only purpose is to make kids.
No. Just read again.
No, they said it's a bitter, unpleasant remark.
Yeah.
So the remark is he's just supposed to make kids.
Yeah, breeding purpose only.
So that,
Do you know what it means?
yeah, just to make.
Just to make it. It's not.
Wow, that's
What.
that hurts. Imagine.
No, it does not. It does not hurt. But
Mr. Stan, your friends look at you and said you have so many kids that you only like.
They were saying sex for that man was not for recreational purposes. There was a purpose to it.
Yes, but him is
No,
to
there was a
play.
purpose for it.
Still an unpleasant remark.
You know, Stan.
Yes.
It's like another caustic remark could be, a nyaupe boy. They only use their manhood for urination only.
It is another caustic remark. Thank you so very much, Dr. Mathebula Mathebula. We are going to be with you next week, same place, same time. And Dr. Mathebula Mathebula, we always appreciate your coming through without fail, right here at VMC Planet Radio.
Yeah, thanks. Next week we're going to talk about stress management as well as depression in a relationship, how to manage that.
Stress management, and depression in a relationship. How do we manage it?